Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Call, the podcast where we spotlight the stories of the voices behind the games we all know and love. I'm your host, Chase Upton, and today I'm joined by broadcaster and sports media personality, Jack DeLongchamps. Did I get that pronunciation right?
Chef's
Let's
kiss,
go.
good sir.
Whether it's in the booth broadcasting games for the likes of ESPN or D1 Baseball, or on social media interviewing big names like Kate Anderson and Liam Doyle, Jack's become one of the most recognizable names in the college baseball world, and I'm very excited to have him on today's episode. Jack, how we doing?
I'm doing well, man. I think we're all just trying to be like your cousin Ben Upton. There's nothing recognizable about me except for the fact that I love flip flops and pencils. But man, beyond stoked to hang out with you today and talk some ball.
Let's go, bro. Glad to have you on. So let's just kind of jump right into it, bro. I'm gonna shoot you down at the beginning, but it is your own words. You've talked about in the past how you were kind of a below average college baseball player in your
Yeah.
words, which I think is a little harsh. 6 years at the Division One level is hard to do, no matter how good you are. But it's clear that your calling has always been telling the game stories, with your voice. From Charleston to now working with companies like ESPN, D1 Baseball, like I said, what did those early steps look like, and how did the journey lead you into becoming one of the, like I said, the prominent voices in college baseball right now?
I appreciate that, man. You're not taking a shot. It's just reality, right? Like I joke about it a lot, and I get a lot of people telling me to stop self-deprecating, but I do think it's important for me to be very self-aware who I am, right? So the reason, and I joke about my college baseball career kind of like a cockroach, but the reality is, man, I just loved it. Like I loved it a ton. That passion and passion fuels hard work, right? And if you love what you do, then you're not really working, right? So that's how I was able to stick around as long as I did, and I utilized that in postgraduate life, right? So you get a sales job when you finish up, and you're trying to figure out who you are and where you are and who you want to be. When I had found the broadcasting niche, growing up in a household where my dad was like a hero of mine. He was a sports broadcaster working at a studio. Like I didn't really know that the play-by-play and on-site reporting, like I never even saw that as a job because what I had seen growing up was so different. So when I had found it, I immediately gravitated towards it, fell in love with it. Didn't matter if it was a middle school spelling bee, a boxing match, or an SEC baseball game. Like the prep for me is what I'd really like dug my heels into and fell in love with. So when you asked me in kind of a roundabout answer, like what did the early steps look like? I think I'm still in them. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I
you
do.
are just like when you're in your playing days or whatever you're doing in life, like you watch those that are doing it at a really high level. You're absorbing and stealing from their craft to create your own. And for me, like it not even an early step, but and I joke about it, but for me, the 11.7 college baseball podcast, like it became evident that like that there were people that cared. Like that's why it's so special for me to be a co seat on their podcast because I think what they do and how they're able to reach so many ears is it's a blessing to be on it. So like to me, like that's where like you start to fine tune like, hey, can't get any work or not getting the games that I want to get. You have this opportunity to do what you're doing right now, Chase, which is like sit in a podcast and talk to awesome folks. So
Yeah,
to me, like it was in podcasts like this where all of a sudden like you're really starting to find like your own little lane, and you kind of create your own craft in that.
that's awesome, bro. So I saw I guess it was a sort of an interview back in the 2024 World Series when you asked Tennessee head coach, you asked kind of how his team, the electricity and the energy they were playing with, kind of how it was moving forward the realm of college baseball. How do you feel like you yourself and 11.7 and these different personalities around the college baseball world are kind of doing what Tennessee was doing, which is moving the college baseball world forward? How do you feel like y'all are doing that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think where there's smoke, there's fire. And not to use another cliche, but when you pour gas on the fire, right, like you're going to get an ROI on your investment. So I think college baseball as a whole, dating back to when they cut the draft down after COVID, is in such a great place because the players have never been this prepared to dominate at this level before. Maybe it's because you're getting more talented dudes that used to be draft guys out of high school, or
Mhm.
maybe it's you're finding that these programs like the Tennessees of the world, LSU, Arkansas, that have always poured an insane amount of money into baseball, into making sure that they're as talented as can be every year. Um, or maybe you're just kind of seeing like this mirrored effect where, or mirroring effect. Sorry, words are hard. But it's a copycat league, right? Like now you're seeing technology that was once exclusive at the big league level now is in the high school ranks. So these kids, like I always joked about,
And
like
it's
work
going
smarter, not
quick.
hard.
It's advancing
Oh,
quickly.
dude, like 643 charts, the guys I'm working with, man, like
Mhm.
they so hyper focus on player dev, recruiting, scouting, like the information that they have on these dudes dating back to when they were 16 years old. Like, not only is it all right, mind, body, spirit, right? Like you're able to prepare for a college baseball game like never before. So to answer your question, I just think the game is better than we've ever seen it.
Yeah.
Pair that with maybe more talking heads um, wanting to push the message and brag on these dudes that without question deserve it. It's that your game's for sure heading in the right direction.
Awesome. So a big thing that as long as, trying to do research on you, as long as I can see, you've pushed bringing college game day to college baseball. What would that actually look like in your mind, and what needs to happen, and kind of how do we get closer and closer to that year by year?
Yeah, well, let me add, your prep was awesome. Not a lot of people get my last name correct. If people say DeLongchamps, I don't often correct them just because it sounds like a
Yeah,
killer
DeLongchamps
fantasy
is
football
cooler,
last
bro.
name.
Honestly.
Yeah, but you hit Shaw like chef's kiss. All right, what does that look and feel like? You see what I was doing? I was just buying myself some time to lay out the logistics because it changes every day, right? I think 2 years ago when I went on campus in Knoxville, and you're starting to figure out the minutia of it, and understand what a day in the life looks like. I thought that's maybe the direction I wanted to take it. And then this last year, I was fortunate enough for 11 weeks in a row to get out and go kind of spread the brand a little bit, if you will. And in that, there is a little bit of a day in the life with Arkansas, LSU,
Yeah.
Clemson. Um, but to me, a college game day for college baseball is squeeze play on crack, if you will, right? So you run a squeeze play who, Mike Rooney is the absolute best. I don't know if there's anyone more suited for that chair. So you have him running it on a Friday, Saturday morning, which again, I think that you probably tape it on Friday. So you send a team to X weekend, right? So let's say it's LSU, Arkansas in the box where I was fortunate enough to be
Mhm.
this year. I think Friday you get there early, you get scenes and sights and sounds with tailgating and BP, and you do probably 2 to 3 player interviews, a coach interview, and then a whole lot of, I guess, feel with the fan base. You take all of that, squeeze play Friday night, and then you roll everything that you got on Friday, Saturday morning. Now you're going, well, the caveat check, like it live TV is better, and you get this. Here's the problem with that. Like I do think Friday would be a tough day to shoot it, just because you're like, hey, like I think that not a lot of people are going to watch on Fridays, to be honest with you. But I think Saturday, I think you'd have a huge audience that would be really interested in it Saturday morning before first pitch at 1. But the problem is you're going to get like a really pissed off coach if you do it live on Saturday morning, like if they got like their teeth kicked
Yeah.
in the night before, right? So to me, the idea is you go in, you shoot it, you run squeeze play almost like as the teaser for it, because then you just have them talking about it and peppering it. And then Saturday morning, you run everything that you shot the day before. You stay throughout the weekend. I think you do it right as like almost like a concept at the beginning of the year, the first 2 weeks, and then you stop. March Madness runs its course, and then the first weekend that college basketball is over, I think you push the heck out of it. That's
Yeah.
how I'd run it out.
Yeah, when there's nothing else to watch,
Yeah.
essentially. So kind of flipping a little bit more towards you focus. What was your first real experience like behind the mic, and what do you remember about that moment?
Oh, what's a good question? Um, my theoretical mic, my senior year at Charleston Southern, I did not know I needed an internship to graduate. It's February. I'm graduating in a month and a half. And I go, I'm just going to interview. I'm going to intern with the sports information department. Like I'm going to jump in with those guys.
Mhm.
I'm in season at Charleston Southern. I'm not going to have time to go put in 20 hours anywhere else. And that's actually where Pencil Talk was born. So it was me interviewing my teammates. I didn't know how much playing time I was going to get that year. So it was a way for me to not feel like a part of the team, but it was a way for me to like
Yeah.
almost like, hey, let me dip my toe in the pool of this media world and see what it looks and feels like. So that's kind of where it started with the pencil. First time behind a mic for a game was a high school football game. My dad, who I mentioned, had done TV for forever, a staple in the Charleston community. He got to do these like Friday Night Lights football games. My grandmother breaks her hip 72 hours. So my dad flies out to Houston. I see that Astros banner behind your shoulder. Go
Yeah.
Astros. You're right. Oh,
Oh, baby.
so she breaks her hip. They can't find anyone to fill in. He goes out to take care of her. And he was like, yeah, I think my son can figure it out. He'll be all right up
That's a
there.
pretty cool story.
And it's literally how it went. Yeah. So shout out to grandma on her broken hip.
So, kind of, when do you think? Because I think every broadcaster probably has a point. Where did it go from like, okay, yeah, I really love sports, I really like playing sports, to like, okay, I might be able to make a career out of this thing? And like you said, you're still in the early stages of it. But have you had that moment where it's like, yeah, like I want to make a career out of it? And if so, what was it?
Dude, I would say super corny. I think literally that night, I was like, "Oh, that was fun," and I knew I was terrible. I knew I wasn't very good, and I could have been so much cleaner, but it was just so much fun. Like, you completely black out, and it's just you and whoever you're hanging out with upstairs, talking about what you see, and I think it just became to me, like, so evident. I was like, "That was a blast." Like, I would do this for free, still not thinking that you
That's
could do it
exactly
for
how
a
I feel.
career. Yeah, right,
That's the
like, I
big thing.
would
It's like I do this for free. Why would I not make a career and get paid out of this? You know what I mean?
yeah,
I think that's the biggest
100%.
thing for me.
Yeah, and I think too, like, I think that's where a lot of people go right, and you're doing all the right things, right? And it's just what I do every day is like the networking piece is so important, and you're learning from, you say, these titans of industry, but I think I joked about being a cockroach earlier. I think it's the exact same mantra. Like if you can keep that same energy about the job in itself, then I think you can go a really long way. I think there are a lot of people that get burnt out because it is hard to make a career out of it, and it's
Yeah.
scary, like because you can't find the next line of work. So, I mean, heck, this fall, I'm considering flying down from DC to Charleston every weekend just so I can continue to do those high school football games that I love so dearly. I mean, I love doing them because it's a cool way to stay connected with the city that I grew up in, but also like I got nowhere else to get on a mic, right? So how do you continue to get reps, continue to get better? If you still feel the same way you do about it whenever that light bulb moment was,
Yeah.
right? I say then the first time I remember doing a college baseball game, be like, "Ooh, that was okay, cool." Like maybe I dig my heels into the sport that I loved playing. Was George Mason, where I went to school. I went up literally just to go watch them play in the. It was like the Broadway at the beach. It was a tournament at Coastal Con. It was Coastal, Indiana, Duke, and George Mason. Um, they asked me to fill in literally 25 minutes before the game. Like, hey, we have no analysts. Would you want to do this? We saw you got like 20 games under your belt. And I was, heck yeah, let's do this thing. So I
You
jumped
can
on the mic.
you can say hell yeah, Jake. It's okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's fair. Well, as you guys can tell, I don't know if this is for viewers at home. I'm clearly at my grandmother's house. I've got like some sweet
I was
ancient
gonna ask
modern,
about the picture.
yeah, 800-year-old man above my shoulder. So yeah, the heck has more for my grandma, which is hilarious too because she curses like a sailor. So she wouldn't give a damn either. But yeah, that game to me, George Mason and Duke actually. Sam Wiederhaft, who's the voice of Coastal Carolina, does such unbelievable work. He actually had to leave earlier because we're in the middle of crossover season, right? So
Hmm.
he needed to get over to women's basketball, and we did not foresee a 4.5 hour baseball game where my beloved alumni George Mason gave up a program record 12 home runs to Duke. And I got to be on the call solo for the last 3 innings. And, grown up listened to Robert Ford with the Astros and Vin Scully, who I used to listen to the Dodger 59 track with my pops growing up. Like, get to do solo broadcast I was like, oh man, that's addicting. Like, I wish I could do that every day of my life, even though it was some of my really good buddies getting their teeth kicked in by the mighty Duke Blue Devils. Yeah.
So you kind of brought up crossover season. If you had to, pick a sport, do you have a favorite? I know you obviously played baseball and you played basketball in high school and stuff. Like, do you have a favorite that if I could do this one sport for my whole career and not have to worry about any others? Which one
Yeah,
would you pick?
that's tough. I like baseball because you have the opportunity to tell stories. I know I'm kind of pandering to my baseball
And,
audience, but
and
you
what a
have
lot of
more
people
time.
don't understand is it's very different. Kind of go into that a little bit.
Oh,
The difference between, you've said in the past that football and basketball kind of drive the ship
yep.
of the game and how you call it. Baseball, it's different. There's a lot of dead space. You have to have stuff to talk about, or you're going to put your
Yeah.
audience to sleep.
That's a dang good point, man. Yeah, I think the preparation that you do for everything, you get to flex a little bit more in baseball, right? Like all that homework
Sure.
that you do by, the fourth inning, it's time to start like reaching into the bag and showing the audience what you got to keep them engaged. So that's a great question. Yeah, I think to your basketball is really fun because it's up and down and the game tells itself. Football, same song and dance. You've got a little bit more breathing time in between, and if games get out of control, you can still get really creative. Because the last thing you want to do, especially in some of the games that we're doing, it's different if you're like on a national linear game, but like you never want to cash it in if a 30-point high school football game. Like you're still very much so conscious of the idea that these kids like might not ever get to play on TV ever again. So they're going to have these moments. So it doesn't matter what the scoreboard says. So you got to be just as locked in as you would be for the state
Yeah.
championship game, as you would be that week 6 30-point blow, because it's that kid's Super Bowl no matter what. Right. So I like the idea of that. I'm very understanding to keep it super not serious, but like locked in and not cash it in early. Um, I would say that, dude. I've had some cool opportunities to call some crazy sports, man. Like I did a bridge run one time. I sat in the back of a truck as someone held onto my back as it was just me and a mic watching, 150 runners sprint after us. That was a lot of fun, just because it's like a fun challenge.
Yeah.
But by far the sport I've had the most fun calling, not even close. It's an amateur event in Charleston. Takes place every year. I just finished up my third year with them, and it's called Battle on the Bricks.
Okay. I
It's a
saw stuff
boxing
about that.
event.
Yeah.
So I got to do like 20 fights this year, 25
That's
fights
awesome.
last year, and it was awesome, man. It was a ton of work because you've got 20 fights, 40 fighters. I didn't know anything about boxing
That's what
before
I
I
was going to
started
ask.
this.
Like, did you have any boxing knowledge before that?
Dude,
I feel like
zero.
that's a sport you don't. Okay, I don't want to offend any boxing commentators, but like I feel like that's a sport that you can kind of go in not knowing too much, and especially a guy like you, like make it entertaining.
Yeah. Well, the good news is I had someone sitting next to me that did, right? Just
Oh,
like in any sport. If you were doing I do a lot of color analyst work. I do a lot of play by play. I like to do play by play more because you're understanding that that's if you are going to make this a career, that's the lane I got to be in. Um, versus college baseball, where I can be an analyst because I have an experience in that and can
and the
chase it
knowledge, yeah.
farther down the line. Yeah, which like I do a ton of analysts for all sports. I'm just as I've grown in this, you start to realize. I think you sit in that analyst chair, it's just as good a rep, honestly. Um, but anyways, yeah. So I didn't know anything about it before, outside of the fact that like I would buy the Pacquiao and Mayweather and Mayweather and
The
McGregor
big,
fights,
big
right?
fights.
Yeah, dude. I didn't have any other understanding. It was awesome though. Um, so I had a guy next to me that knew the sport a lot better than I, and I could just bring as much energy and juice as I wanted, right? It
That's
was just a
awesome.
blast.
So, like going into preparation a little bit, um, in this past College World Series, you were able to interview guys like I said, Liam Doyle and Cade Anderson, guys like that that are ended up becoming top 10 MLB draft picks. How do you kind of prepare specifically when interviewing on kind of, I know it can be
Yeah.
short term, like, you don't have a big window to kind of get knowledgeable about these guys. A lot of times with those, you know about them, but how do you kind of prepare when going to interview big names like that?
Yeah, I think, well, it's like what I tell people always ask, like, hey, what would your advice be to a high school kid that wants to play college baseball? And it's like such a scary time that my best advice that I can give is like, yo, fall in love with the game, right? Like fall in love. Like do people even like sit down and watch a game anymore? Like I don't know if kids do. So to answer your question a long way, like it's just watching the games throughout the year, right? So it's you feel like just like watching a TV show, you are in these people's lives just because you're watching from afar. So when you have the opportunity like to be there, you've got this preliminary background knowledge. Um, and I would also say that but, like, in Omaha, for example, that media day, just 14 hours at Charles Schwab Field, all 8 teams practice.
Mm.
It's mayhem, dude. And there's a ton of media out there. So you're just kind of grabbing whoever you can.
Yeah, you got to
I'll
know
coordinate,
just about everybody.
right? So, but that's when it gets tough from a prep standpoint, like, because you can't prep for, can't prep for over 200 guys.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll go to each team, especially in those settings where like I'm not getting ready to get on a call. All that content is for me and how I want to, basically filter it out into the world. So like that media day, I'm going to go in with 1 to 2 guys on every team that I'm going to do extensive background on and like
Mm.
their journey into the game, high school to JUCO to this spot, or like Daniel Dickinson with LSU's got an unbelievable story. So I want to make sure that I have got my finger on the pulse of 1 to 2 guys specifically per team. And then I'll come with some of the goofy, more generic questions that like kind of are baseline. Not to say that you're not educated.
Yeah.
I don't want to throw myself under the bus, but they're more kind of, hey, let's learn about you in this interview style. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I did that with 7 to 8 guys per team. But then if we're talking about game specific, right? Not necessarily like, hey, this is a media day interview. I'm going to go get them. But if you're talking about like a post game, right? Kate Anderson, game 1 of the College World Series finals, you're watching him absolutely shove a historic performance. He might have his statue built at the box already. I don't know. But you're watching that and you're watching these small moments and these glimpses happen pair with homework that you've already done before. You're looking to see how you can tie in past stories with current event. And that's the best way. I feel like I tell people all the time, it's like, well, you have all this homework, but like, does it correlate with what's happening? Because that
Yeah.
was like my biggest problem early on. Like I wanted to throw up and regurgitate all this information
And I
I'd done
think
on.
naturally we do.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because you're trying to. For me, it was like, man, I'm trying to tell the viewer like how smart I am. Like not from an egotistical standpoint, but that like I have the credential to be here because I promise I know what's happening. So, but then when it doesn't fit in place in these right moments, then you're like, like that didn't even make any sense. I just wasted it. Right.
Yeah.
So, you're consciously watching to see if anything will tie in without actually trying to like force it to make it happen.
Yeah. So do you have like any interviewing embarrassing stories? Because I know
Oh,
you got to have at least one. Like, and how do
100
you
I
kind of
do.
bounce back from those? That's mine, and I feel like when I go to interview, it's like you said, I want to stuff as much information in my brain as I can. But then once you get to it, it's like you don't end up using most of that, and you're just kind of over prepping. Do you have any stories like that to where you kind of maybe over prepped a little bit, and it's like you get to it, and you're like, this is just another guy I'm talking to. Like it's not.
100 yeah, 100%. I think from that perspective, and I'd love to hear your story too, because these are always fun because it makes us all feel like, "Oh,
Yeah.
nice, alright, it's not just me." Um, yeah, I think less is more. We've learned that, right? But sometimes, depending on what audience I have, right? Like sometimes with pencil talk, I feel like I have to be very deliberate in, hey, I don't have a ton of followers. Like I need to give them as much information as possible so they understand why I'm asking this in this manner, right? So that's something that I struggle with badly. When at the end of the day, either whether it be social media or TV, someone with a ton of knowledge on the topic or none, you just still want to be in and out and allow the focus to be the focus. Uh, but the biggest faux pas, dude, I made by far was the first interview I ever did. So I've alluded to it a little bit already on this pod. My dad worked in TV for 31 years, sports guy in Charleston. One of his best buddies is now the current sports guy at his station that he worked at for forever. And when I interned at Charleston Southern, right? I'm going to do communications. I'm going to interview my teammates. This is literally the origin and birth of Pencil Talk, right? It is the first week that I am interning on this gig, right? And I'm like, yeah, it's just going to be Charleston Southern baseball. This is going to be my focus. I'm going to tell its story throughout the whole year because no one else is going to give a damn because it's Charleston Southern baseball, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I go to my little brother's basketball game. Really, my brother Charlie's stud hooper, but they're playing Berkeley High School in the Charleston, South Carolina area, who Berkeley High School's got this very traditioned past, and at the time is number 2 in the state. So my brother's having a pretty decent game. But Berkeley's just running them out the gym, man. And I keep seeing this one guy like running onto the floor. And I was like, that's so inappropriate for a grown man to be celebrating like this, despite all the dunks that his team keeps throwing down. Well, it's like halfway through the game, and I was like, dude, this might not mean anything to anyone, but you're a Texans fan, so you might remember him. Bruce Ellington, who was a two-way star at South Carolina. He was a football basketball player, played in the NFL for like 12 years with Lions, Texans, I think Packers for a little bit. Anyways, he's like a legend in the Charleston area. Wherever you're listening from, remember the high school guy that was like, this is the dude. That was Bruce Ellington. So game keeps getting out of hand. And I was like, I'm gonna pencil talk Bruce Ellington. I'm gonna send it to my interns, and it's gonna be great. Right? This is going to be awesome. I'm the best intern in the world.
That's where I break.
This is it. I go 1-1. This is my first interview. I'm a beast. So I go down. I'm a little bit nervous. I introduce myself to Bruce. Could not be any cooler. And I was like, yeah, man, little brother, intern. Would you mind if I interviewed you a couple questions? Because he was currently working out trying to make a comeback in the NFL. It's like 100%. It's like, man, so cool. So I get my phone up and I'm doing the whole thing. I'm going to ask him one question, get in, get out. He gives me like 5 minutes, like boom, like long, very wordy answers, delivering how he wants to be. I mean, he was so kind with his time. Finish up, dap him up, and I'm like on cloud 9. I was like, this is so easy. I'm such a beast. To the point that I texted my dad and his best friend, Scott Eisberg. And I was like, hey, why don't you use this for your show tonight? I even shot a horizontal for you because I just got Bruce Ellington talking about the whole thing, bragging. And they're like, oh, my God, like that. Damn. Okay, cool. Like, we see you. Like, send it on over.
Didn't record.
Never hit record.
That's awesome, bro. That's awesome. Hey, but at least I thought that was going towards like you said something and he whooped your butt or something like that.
That would be.
I didn't know where that was.
That'd be great. That'd be great content.
Record. Luckily, I actually don't have an embarrassing story like that yet. But for me, it's just I don't know. It's a natural nerves thing, like I said, but it's just the build up to it. And then like almost not wanting to do it is where my problem's at. And then once you get to it, I'm cool. Like I've never gotten in an interview or gotten in doing play-by-play. And I truthfully mean this and been like really nervous. It's before it. You know what I mean? So what type of advice would you have in that situation to kind of calm nerves pre-game?
That's a good question. I think I think sometimes I'm kind of like have you ever stood up in front of a big audience and spoke? Like, because that to me,
like in classes.
I don't get. Yeah, I was like, I don't even get nervous talking. Like the idea of it, like I ain't even worried about it.
The
and
thing
then you
is,
get up there, and then for a half a second, you're like, oh crap, there's a lot of people out there, right?
Like, say I'm in a big class of 60 people, and you know, the teacher points at me to talk about whatever subject we're talking about, and I get up right then I'm not nervous. But if it's like, okay, we're gonna start with this row. Okay, we're gonna start on the far left, and I'm the 5th person on the row. By the time they're about to get to me, I'm about to have a panic attack because I'm thinking about it, and then I get up and then again I'll start, and then once I get going, I won't be nervous. But I think it.
Man, that's a great question.
I don't
Well,
know if
because
it's
like,
a
I think
conditioning
in
thing or
your
what.
case and yeah, I think in your case, in a lot of cases, like, the advice would be, "Hey, just make sure you're really, really well prepped," and then that way, when you get up there, even when you're nervous, you're just gonna spew out all the right answers. But in your case, you're definitely doing the homework, like, clearly, this is what your entire pod's, predicated towards. So, I think the advice would be to try to remain as conversational as possible, right? Like, if I don't build this up, like, I have to go deliver this great message, or, like, for me, when I try to script and open, because I always want to try to sound like cinematic and poetic at the front. When I try to script it, and if I'm not on camera and I can just read off it, I'm great. But if I try to remember and memorize something to regurgitate it, and then it doesn't go out as planned, when I'm such a perfectionist, I'm like, damn it, I ruined it. The whole thing's ruined.
Yeah.
When in reality, no one knows that you messed up, only you do, right? So I think to try to minimize the moment by just going, "I'm gonna go have a conversation with these folks." Like, it's nothing more than that, even though it obviously is.
Just
It's
be
like everything you're
knowledgeable and
working towards.
yeah.
Yeah, create a dialogue instead of making it more than what it, should be. But again, that's hard though, right? Like, I think it just comes with reps. I think that's probably the
Yeah, doing
reality.
getting out and doing it is what it is. Like I said, I've never had a moment
Yeah,
where I, get in the interview and I just crap the bed essentially and it goes the way I'm thinking it was gonna go. But I
yeah.
think just from doing it time and time again, I'll be able to gain that confidence that's like, okay, I know if I prepare the right way, once I get there, I'll essentially be able to figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's a good question, though. I think my brain is almost the other way, but it's a blessing and a curse. It's why, like, my
yeah.
girlfriend hates me sometimes because, like, my build up, like, I'm very, hey, let's just go do it, right? Like, let's just knock this thing out.
So
Um,
I kind of didn't want to bring up
yeah,
girlfriend, but
why do it?
so your girlfriend is obviously a big media personality as well. How is that with y'all both being kind of in the same field?
Yeah,
And how is that?
no,
I think
it's
it's cool.
great.
That's almost
Yeah,
like a power couple in our little world. You know what I
yeah. Do not tell her that. It'll go straight to her head. No, dude. Okay, so I told that story earlier. If we all remember, if you're still hanging out with us, recall when my grandma broke her hip and my pops left, and I got to do my first ever, high school football
mean?
game broadcast ever, first time ever on a mic. She was at that game, so that's where I met her. So we also
Mhm.
thank my grandmother's broken hip for the longest relationship I've ever had. So
Canon event.
yeah, shout out grandma's broken hip, but, no, it's good. I think there's a lot of understanding, which makes it great, right? So her weekends are Monday, Tuesday, and I traveled every weekend for 12 weeks. So it's like the not hostility, but like the insanity of our schedules kind of align in a way that we're very understanding because to your point, man, like it's 60, 80 hour weeks when you're at these events, right? Like when you're in Omaha, it's an 80-hour work week. When you're on a weekend, you're putting in 40 hours in 3 days. So it's in those moments where I'm very thankful to have someone that gets it. Um, but yeah, but then it's tough at times just because it is like not a normal life. Like there's no like let's wake up Saturday morning and have a cup of coffee. Like we're just gone. So um yeah, that part's hard, but yeah, power couple is I probably got some areas I need to clean up in her eyes as well to make sure that I'm holding up my end of the bargain for the
Mhm.
power couple role because she's a beast. I'm just trying to be like her.
Um, that's awesome stuff. Kind of where that I don't know where to go with that, but that's cool. Um,
Yeah, yeah. She's based. She's in the DC area. Natalie Spalla, for those that
yeah.
are listening, she's a
And so
monster.
who does she? What is her main thing that she works for? Is it the
So
local news?
everyone, right? So yep, local news. So it's local DC news. She's with ABC. So one day it's in a studio. Yesterday it was NFL training camp.
Hmm.
Last night it was the DC tennis championship. I can't remember who played in it, but yeah, it's just whatever's happening in the area, right? She got to could do the chase with Alexander Ovechkin this year. That was crazy.
Oh yeah,
Was there the night, in Detroit for when Jaden Daniels got drafted. And, so it's like a local sports broadcasting job.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Um, kind of flip into like almost a mentorship question. How we've that's kind of what we've been talking about a little bit before the whole girlfriend thing, but how what type of advice would you give to younger people like me? And we're not, I'm not that much younger than you. I'm 22. But
Oh,
younger
you're
people trying to break.
22? Damn.
How old are you?
You? I'm old, man. I'm old.
Okay, Ben's
28.
what, 30? You're
Ben,
38?
I'm
28.
28. I'm
I thought you
28.
said 30.
38 would
Oh,
be wild. 38 would have been wild.
yeah, that would be wild.
No, 28 feels old though. A little
Eh,
bit. Yeah. I
yeah,
feel washed up some
yeah, you're,
days.
you're a little old, bro. I'll be honest. So, what I said, what are like kind of two or three things that you think people that are my age kind of trying to really, like you say you're young in your sports media career, which you are, but being younger how I am, what are two or three things you feel like I should focus on, or people in my shoes should focus on to kind of get that break into the sports media world? Because at times it can look like a big task to get like that first
Yeah.
ESPN broadcast or that first interview with her dad or D1, whatever. What do you think are some things that somebody my age should be focusing on right now?
I think you're doing it. Control the controllables. Like you can't
It's a
control
big
what
thing.
games you're getting. You're not. I always say because I sometimes feel it too. Your human nature, right? Like it's competitive drive. Um, you can't control, right? Like the games you're getting, and you also don't want to be the guy. Like you don't want to be the backup shortstop rooting for the guy in front of you to fail.
Yeah.
That's when you get in trouble, right? Like
And then you're getting wrapped up in the
compare
wrong things.
100%, right? Comparison's the thief of all joy. Like, man, how'd that guy get that work? Like, well, are you doing everything that you can to even be upset to be in that position?
Mm.
And then pair that with also, like, hey, cool, like that's awesome for that guy and his journey. I'm on my own walk. So I think controlling the controllables and you're doing it, right? Like you've got this podcast. This is quite literally a form of practicing the thing that you want to do. So it's opportunities like this. And then one of my favorite quotes of all time that you never know who's watching you do what you're doing while you're doing it. Every little moment. The journey is the experience, right? Like if you end up getting to do Sunday night baseball, like that's awesome. But it's the journey to get to that point that is what makes it all worth it. So stuff like this, right? You have no idea who's tuning in. Continue to network your tail off.
Mm.
Do you want that interview with her dad or D1? Like now you've got a connection me to be able to make that happen. You have no idea who's willing and able to put you in a place that you didn't fathom the day before. So
Dude, that's some great advice. Um, well, I think that's really all I got. Is there anything else you want to say? Or I think that's all
I
I
don't
got.
know. Let's put you on the spot. 22. That's wild. So you were still in school?
Yeah, so I have one more year of school at UT Tyler where I'm at right now.
Nice, man. Let's go. All right, have you had a favorite sport that you've called?
So I've only called baseball and basketball.
Okay.
I played basketball in high school my freshman year of college at Eastfield, which is a little junior college in Mesquite, Dallas
Okay.
area.
Hell yeah.
So basketball is what I have the most knowledge in, and it's fast paced. It's really where my passion's at. I love baseball and football and basketball all equally, probably. But as far as calling, it's got to be basketball, bro. Like it's
That's
just
awesome, man.
when I get behind the mic, and I've done the most. Basketball is what I've done the most of, so it's easy for me to say
Yeah.
that. I mean, I've never done a football game, so who knows when I get behind a mic doing a football game if I'll fall in love with it. But basketball, just the pace of it and the way you can call a 20-point blowout and it still be entertaining to me
Yeah.
is something that baseball doesn't really have. And I don't like people that use the, oh, baseball's boring conversation, like, oh, a 7-0
Yeah.
game is boring. Well, no, there's a zero
Yeah.
on the board. There's somebody's dealing. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's not boring. But
Yeah.
the energy and the speed of basketball, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
That the to your point, it can be boring. It
It
can
can be.
definitely be boring, but you control that. Like that's on your like. How do
Exactly.
you want to
That's
handle
that's
that?
us. That's Jack
Yeah.
behind that 7-0 game.
Yeah.
He can make it boring, or he can make it the most entertaining, hilarious broadcast you've ever watched.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
and that's the thing
Absolutely,
I
man.
love about it. Like you really do control that, and we know how it is. Like you've watched games. Everybody has that. Even when it's not a blow, even if it is a close game, and it's like, gosh, this is boring. Like this is a good
Yeah.
game, and it's boring. We really control that, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah. No doubt, man. Well, that's awesome, dude. Well, I'm beyond excited for you. I cannot wait to continue to watch you do your thing. If I can do anything to help at all, man.
Dude, for
You,
sure. We'll stay in touch.
heck yeah, man. Got a confidant in
Um,
me, dude.
yeah, I'm excited to see what your career brings. And again, thank you for joining me. This has been Behind the Call. Again, I'm Chase Upton. Thank you all for joining us.